Hi everyone, I'm the CRM Ninja and I'm bringing another wonderful episode to our lovely viewers this evening. I am honored to be joined by Jason Almeida. Hi Jason, how you doing?
Hello. Hi, EY. How you doing? You good?
Yeah, it's been a wonderful day. Joys of
Nice.
Mondays. I know this goes
Close to
live on
Christmas, though.
Fridays, but very true. So I've known Jason for a while. We both attend a variety of Dynamics and Power Platform events here in London, and Jason's helped me out with some Power Platform code along the way. So really appreciate all of that.
You're more than welcome, man.
Is
Anybody who asks
really,
me a question, I'm always there to help and figure stuff out. It's always an interesting problem to try and solve. So,
yeah, we're all about, trying to solve things in an elegant as way as possible. So
absolutely.
before we jump into your Oops Factor story, I understand that you have a hobby of climbing, namely rock climbing. How did you get into
Absolutely.
this?
So I got into it at university. It was just I was looking for something new to do. Decided to try something, that totally unexpected. And yeah, I looked at climbing. It was cheap and cheerful. Cost me a tenner to join for the whole year, and then I've stuck with it ever since. And I'd say it's one of three things that I am probably the most passionate about. The other one
Okay.
being technology and dynamics, and climbing is the other. Um, and if you meet me, I'll tell you the third one. Yeah, absolutely enjoy it. It's my mechanism for stress relief. And yeah, try and go like a couple of times a week if I can, indoors
Oh,
and whatnot.
wow.
Oh yeah.
So what sort of, have you done outdoor climbing? What sort of been your biggest challenge to date for outdoor
Yeah,
climbing?
so the type of climbing I do is called bouldering, which is tends to be it's actually going to be in the Olympics in 2020 as well, and
Oh,
it's about
right.
sort of scaling, shorter routes that tend to be boulders, and you tend to
Okay.
have crash mats below. And the whole challenge of it is the fact that it's technically difficult, so you've got to figure it out. So for anybody who's a problem solver, and we just spoke about trying to solve problems, climbing routes are generally called problems that you try and solve and figure out how you get to the top.
Okay.
And once you get to the top, you've technically solved the problem. And normally, after you spend ages figuring it out, you think, oh, you know what? I never understood what the big deal about it was with it, anyways. Now you could do it again and again. So yeah, absolutely enjoy that, and it always takes my mind off anything. If I ever need a break, it's a great thing for me to go and do.
Sounds
And
like
more
a
than
great
happy to
fit.
introduce people to it as well. So
Yeah, great fit with the stuff. So, random question here that just popped in my head. Could we possibly see a Power Platform app that, you take a picture of a bouldering course and it will analyze with AI and tell you the best route?
we could. So funny enough, you may have seen it on a post on the Power Platform channel. I do actually have a climbing app I use to keep track of my climbs.
Okay.
I might. It's very crude. It does the job, but I use it because I don't get to go as often as I'd like to. I always have something to keep track of my volumes. So for me,
Right.
the more I do, the more consistent I get all the time. So I just have an app to whenever I go to a wall, I sort of check in, and then it shows me all of the routes of that particular sort of color and grade, and I just sort of try and aim to hit a particular grade target. So yeah, it's something I use personally, but there is more than enough scope to kind of grow this out to make it a wider thing if there are more people who want to use it.
Sounds great. Anybody out there who's an enthusiast about climbing, it's just you go and check out the app. Wonderful. So, now that we've covered the climbing bit, let's talk about climbing challenges and oops factor. Go ahead and share your story.
All right. I know generally with OOS factors, you always think it's going to be a production related thing. And there have been those as well.
There have been,
Everyone's had
yes.
those. So I decided to try and think about something where there was an factor. I was like, at least for me, I always had this situation where I'm like, oh, I haven't thought about that, or oops, so on and so forth. So this was one when I was working on my placement year back at university, and I was essentially working as a sort of a developer and building sort of web apps for a school that I was working in, coincidentally. And I had a sort of brief from my manager, and he said, "All right, here you go. Try and build this as best you can." And so I had a chat with some of the teachers because they were effectively our customers to try and get some ideas of what they
Right.
wanted. And then I went and went full 9 yards and built as much of it as I could. And that at that point I thought it was really, really cool. But then when I went and showed some of the users, there seems to be a bit of a disconnect. And this was
Okay.
sort of my first sort of lesson in that. Oh, okay. Because what I built, I thought was really, really cool. But there was the teachers then were very much used to basic Excel type way of storing data. So very sort of old way of doing
Okay.
things. And one thing I learned from that was that sort of first of all, you've got to always make sure that you're communicating with your customer. And always trying to get feedback on an ongoing basis. So that's something I apply on a regular basis now, anyways.
Very true.
And the other item was that I learned was that some of it is also down to taking them on a journey, because when you know your boundaries and you think of solutions in the sort of persona as the teacher, you think how cool would it be to do something on Excel or something to automate this. But then if you showed them, when I showed them the world of a web app that they can access from any browser, and it had all of the data in there, it suddenly opened a whole new world of possibilities. And, that suddenly made them think, oh, what about this? What about that? How can I do this? How can I do that? And, we're seeing a lot of that with some of the Power Platform and Canvas app stuff right now. And I find that taking them on that journey and sort of every so often showing them a little bit of what's possible makes such a big difference to what they may think is important to them.
That's very
Because when they
true.
start, it tends to be, really limiting, not really limiting, but their sort of extent of what they want the solution to be is the extent of what they know.
And they
And
don't
it's
always
always about,
know what the technology can do. So it's
absolutely.
about sort of
So,
seeing that. So it sounds to me what you're describing is you started off with a traditional sort of waterfall approach,
yeah,
and then realized when you were presented at the end of the development when you did as much as you could,
yeah.
that if you'd done something maybe more agile, doing minimum viable product and iterating on it, it could have got
Yeah.
some better stuff. Great.
Absolutely, yeah. And, that was definitely a birth by fire, I'd say, given that was my placement year, year of work, basically.
Okay.
So, but on the plus side, that was very much sort of halfway through the year. And this was something we wanted to do for the end of the year anyways. So I had an opportunity to take it away, get some more time with the teachers, get some feedback from them, incorporate that, and get them using it on an ongoing basis as well. So what we did was we did a small beta test as well for some teachers.
That's always very important to do,
Yeah,
try and get those small user groups there to
yeah,
try it out.
yeah. I mean, now when I think about that, it was so long ago. You've seen tons of more solutions. For example, I think it's Lauren Taylor. She does a whole bunch of stuff with Teams and Power Apps and capturing this information on an ongoing basis regarding students.
Yeah.
Given the technology back then, it was a traditional web app. But yeah, we used it on a small subset of teachers. They thought it was really good. They gave some feedback and incorporated, and then we kind of expanded it to a wider audience during the next sort of, I think the scenario was for parent-teacher meetings. That was,
I had
and
several of those
capturing
last
sort of,
week.
sorry?
I had several of those last week for my kids.
Yeah, so if the teacher is capturing that information on some sort of tool, that's, I mean, today you could probably do that on a Canvas app quite easily. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's very true.
So yeah, those are the two things I think I took away, and I always try, and even in my work today, is try and show them a little bit of, always have a little bit of what's possible, just to
Yes,
tease them a little bit, but at the same time get them interested in the technology, because once they're interested, they're bought in, they're empowered, they really want to see this succeed, and they'll start coming up with new possibilities and new ideas.
it's very true.
So
Of
so
course, you
yeah,
then need to balance them wanting all the gizmos and gadgets and whirling lights,
yeah,
with basic system functionality, because inevitably they're going to go for the
absolutely,
stuff that looks great, but you need
absolutely,
visual
yeah.
systems. But okay,
Yeah,
brilliant,
yeah, definitely a balance to be maintained, but yeah,
wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
you're welcome.
And it's been great to have you. Now, if I can ask, if you could recommend anyone to come on to be interviewed for their Oops Factor story, who would you want to be appearing on the show? Caveat, I
Oh,
may ask you to make an introduction.
okay. Oh, all right. Yep, I thought of a guy. He's a good friend of mine and fellow colleague at Hitachi, Arthur Zielinski. Very, very loud. He's done a few presentations at UG as well. Great guy, great to talk to as well. I'm sure you'll have a good few oops factors to share with you.
Wonderful. I will reach out to him. Thank you so much for coming to Appear. We hope you viewers enjoyed listening to this. Please feel free to see the rest of the playlist of the Oops Factor stories and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out the blog that I have in which I talk about a load of different things, including omnichannel, and feel free to drop any questions. And lastly, if you would like to come appear on it, hit the link below, put in your details, and I'll drop you a line to get you organized. Have a great day, everyone.